Welcome to Dinner for Her, a podcast about historical women with flavor. I'm your host, Mandy Walker, and each episode, a guest and I will have a good conversation about a woman they find inspiring. Then we'll have a meal together themed around that woman's life. It could be her favorite dish, or one that played an important role in her life, or even just something central to her work or culture. This episode, I am thrilled to be joined by one of my closest friends in the entire world, Becky Anderson.
Hi.
I had Becky's maiden name in there, and she was very put out, and she changed
I was
it.
not.
She slapped me, guys.
I'm always very put out by anything you do.
She slapped me, guys. She beats me when you're not here. As you can tell, Becky and I have been friends for a very long time, over 25 years, and we host another podcast together on the Pirate Core Network called What's On Tonight? Becky, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose the incomparable, one and only Eartha Kitt as your guest of honor?
Well, Mandy, I was born an original sinner. I've been holding on that since the day I knew I was coming on this podcast. Well, you know me. I am a nearing 50 woman dealing with the chaos of the world today. I grew up in a small town in East Tennessee, and what really struck me about Eartha, first I discovered her when I was up watching Nick at Night many years ago and saw her as Catwoman on the old Batman series, the OG.
And you do love a Batman.
And I do love me some Batman. And Catwoman and Joker, they're my two favorite villains. And then when you and I started talking about me possibly coming on, I had a different person in mind that we talked about, but then kind of was like, well, I kind of would like to focus on somebody who struggled with racial identity, which is something that's affected me for the majority of my life. And with your help, Eartha popped up, and so I was like, yes, this is who I want to do.
It turned out to be perfect. I say this every episode, but there's almost, since I started this project, every time whoever is on and I start really digging into whoever they pick, it seems almost like that was just fated to be the person that they wanted. And maybe it's just because these people are so amazing that it's easy to find identity with them. But of course, nobody doesn't know who Eartha Kitt is that's over the age of 30 in this country, or probably most of the world, but I didn't know that much about her. But once you picked her and we started really diving in, there's so many things that I could see. I'm like, she would have loved us.
I think she would have loved us as much as we have come to love her, for sure. Yeah. She was definitely our cup of tea.
Yeah, she was a big personality. She never met a microphone that she didn't want to be inserting her opinion into. Whatever it is about us that makes us the kind of people that really like the attention of the rest of it. I don't even think it's attention. I think that because, and we'll get into that later, she wasn't her persona. She was very different. Eartha May was very different than Eartha Kitt. Mm-hmm. But she loved conversation. She loved to talk. She loved to have interesting conversations about things. And she wasn't big on chit-chat. And so you and I think we have everything figured. Like, if everybody would just listen to us,
the world would be perfect.
It would be so much a better place. And she just, in all seriousness, she thought big thoughts. And I think that she would have absolutely loved us. So, but first, I'm going to give a little bit of biography of Eartha, Miss Eartha May. She was born on January 17th, 1927, a date that she did not learn until she was 71 years old.
It's such a wild story.
Isn't that crazy?
It really blew my mind when I saw that.
I did not learn how to spell my first name until I was 15.
I believe that.
Yeah. My mother named me Ricka. That's my real first name. Thanks, Mom. I like Ricka, but no one used it, and she was probably high on drugs when they, not like legal drugs, but like from the birth. Back in the 70s.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, my mom's right now like somewhere going, you were saying what about me? Anyway, she probably did not remember because she was probably exhausted and tired when she filled it out, but she spelled it R-I-C-C-A, or she spelled it R-I-C-A, but my whole life she told me it was R-I-C-C-A.
I thought it was R-I-C-C-A.
It's R-I-C-A. I didn't find out until I got my birth certificate when I was getting ready to get a driver's license.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So another affinity I have with Eartha. But anyway, Eartha didn't know her real birth date until after she was 71 years old. Before that, she thought her birthday was January 26th. 1926.
Which is my dad's birthday.
Really?
It's January 26th.
She got to shave a whole year off of her age.
Yeah, she did. That must have been nice.
Yeah, I thought so. She was born in North South Carolina, which is a tiny, tiny little town in rural South Carolina. Her mother was a black woman named Eartha Kitt, and her father was an unknown white man who may or may not have assaulted her mother. It was all very mysterious, and a lot of it was kept from Eartha for most of her life. When she was really young, Annie married a black man who would not let Eartha live in his home. They referred to her as a yellow gal.
Which was not a compliment.
No,
People.
back then, the United States has always had a very, very complex and sad relationship with race, and because she was biracial, she wasn't really accepted anywhere. So because this man would not let her live in his home, she was given to a family that treated her like a virtual slave. She referred to it as they used her as a pack mule. She was required to work in the cotton fields from about the age of 5, from dusk till dawn. They would throw food to her like she was an animal, scraps from the table. She was literally being starved and beaten to death. The woman that took her in was violently abusive. Her teenage children would also abuse Eartha, both physically and sexually. Finally, someone got word to her mother's sister Mandy in New York that Eartha's situation was extremely dire, so she sent money for Eartha to come and join her up north. Eartha would later claim that Mamie told her that she was actually her birth mother, but there's no proof of that claim. We really just don't know. There's still a lot of mystery around Eartha's birth. Mamie was also abusive, and Eartha looked for ways to become self-sufficient as quickly as she possibly could. In 1943, 16-year-old Eartha auditioned for the Katherine Dunham dance troupe. This was the first self-funded, all-black dance troupe in the United States. She made the team, and this began her career in entertainment. Eartha went on tour with the Dunham Company to Europe, and when the company returned to the United States, the multilingual Kitt stayed in Paris, where she won immediate popularity as a nightclub singer. She made her acting debut as Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, in Time Runs, an Orson Welles adaptation of Faust, in 1950. With her appearance in the Broadway review Leonard Sillman's New Faces of 1952, and with early 1950s recordings such as C'est si bon, and Santa Baby, and I Want to Be Evil, Kitt became a star.
First, I want to say I'm very impressed with your authentic pronunciation of C'est si bon.
Yeah,
which
I took high school French.
Oh, did you?
I wrote a song in French at one point.
I'm gonna need to hear that one day.
I'll sing it now. Ma maman est très très bon. Elle est si belle, elle est si gentille. Ma maman est très tranquille.
You have a very good French accent. I learned something new about you every day.
Yeah.
I wanted to say one thing really quick, and we can dive deeper into it when we get there. But what I thought was really cool about Eartha, when the Dunham Company was returning to the United States, and she was offered a chance to work in the nightclub, and the Katherine Dunham told her, you can't do it. You won't be successful.
Yeah.
And she's like, watch this.
Yeah.
And she stayed, and look what she did. I just loved that hint of the story of this young woman. I felt like that's almost where she was born.
Her drive, yeah. Getting out of this country and getting out on her own and having, there's not many people that coming from her background, because I didn't put this in the notes, but one of the videos that I watched that was interviews with Eartha over the last few weeks, because when I get ready to do these, I kind of just eat, sleep, and breathe that person for several weeks to just try to get a feel of who they are. And so one of the interviews with her, Katherine Dunham told her, "You're never going to be anything because of the baggage that you have." To hear a massive star at that time tell you, a 16-year-old, coming from such a traumatic background, I mean, a lot of people would have believed her and just caved. But you're right, that showed a lot of who Eartha is, that she was like, no, I'm not.
She's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, and she left the Dunham Company to do that. You're right, she did. So she came back to the United States, though, and continued in nightclubs, the theater productions such as Mrs. Patterson and Shinbone Alley, films including St. Louis Blues and Anna LaCosta, and television appearances, notably as the role of Catwoman in the late 1960s series Batman.
And she was so good.
She was the best Catwoman. I mean, all respect to Michelle Pfeiffer and Halle Berry. She was the quintessential Catwoman. The lady was basically a cat. She
was born to play that role, and she killed it. And I do, Michelle Pfeiffer's my second favorite, but Eartha, she had a way.
Yeah. And it was just, there's no comparison. I mean, because again, that Catwoman was Eartha in many ways, because Eartha's persona was basically a slinky, mysterious sex kitten cat. Yeah. So there would be no... I don't think we would have the people... I don't think that Catwoman would have been as big of a character in pop culture if Eartha had not created that role.
Yeah.
So her career was almost derailed by an infamous afternoon luncheon at the White House in 1968 when First Lady Bird Johnson asked her thoughts on juvenile delinquency, and Eartha expressed her belief that it was because of the Vietnam War. President Johnson did not like that. Apparently he made Lady Bird cry, and, well, we all know what can happen with white woman tears sometimes. So President Johnson exerted pressure on people not to hire her, so she began touring again and taking gigs in Europe. When it was revealed after the Nixon impeachment that the U.S. Secret Service had been surveilling her for almost a decade, she was vindicated and began to be cast again in the U.S. Eartha continued to perform in plays, cabarets, movies, and in voiceover work for the rest of her life. She passed on Christmas Day 2008 from colon cancer. So there's her biography. What was the most interesting thing that you took away from our sources?
Her strength and her courage and her willingness, or her ability, I should say, to not let the weight of the trauma. I mean, that woman suffered so much from so many different people. And yeah, there were opportunities that she had to learn to work through and deal with, and I think she still carried with her to her dying day, according to her daughter's memoir about her, which is really beautiful. I just think of the abuse and abandonment and all the things that she endured, yet she still, I feel like I have Maya Angelou in my head, but still I rise. Mm-hmm. And when I think of Eartha Kitt, that's what I hear in my head, is she's like, I'm none of this. And there's a quote that she has that I think we're going to go through quotes later so I can hang on to it until then. But she's like, keep throwing it at me and I'm going to make something of it.
Yeah, it's that quote of the manure that the world has thrown at me, I've turned into fertilizer. Yeah, a lot of people would have buckled under the weight of everything that she went through. First of all, like I was watching again some of those interviews with giving out a laundry list of the things that she did and what she accomplished. It just doesn't really do justice to how bad it was. She talks so much about how she was mute for the first few years of her life. She didn't even speak until she was much older. I'm sure people called her all kinds of names. I mean, she basically lived like a baby animal. And I was telling you that I saw this interview where she was discussing how things were with her and her mother. Did you know she had a sister? I want to point out here that our main source for this podcast is Eartha Kitt, A Daughter's Love Story in Black and White by Kit McDonald Shapiro and Patricia Leavy. Kit is Eartha's daughter, who was the great love of her life.
Literally.
Yeah. They were one of the closest mother-daughter duos I've ever heard of in my entire life. So I want to point out here that our main source for this podcast is Eartha Kitt, A Daughter's Love Story in Black and White by Kit McDonald Shapiro and Patricia Leavy. And they don't get into this in that book, but I saw in this interview that she actually, at the time that she was given away, she had a sister who was dark-skinned. Who was dark-skinned.
And acceptable.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So I don't know exactly, and that's one of the... there's like so many things that I want to go back and I want to research for her. And me being me, like I want to solve the mystery of her parenthood so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like already been like looking on Ancestry and trying to find pictures of the man that they thought potentially could be her father, that her unofficial biographer had claimed was her father, to see if there's any resemblance or whatnot. She does look like her sister. They look a lot alike. Her sister's just dark skinned, so they must have gotten her really distinctive jaw and all that. They must have gotten that from her mother. But at any rate, she was treated basically like an animal for several years. That's the kind of trauma that most people just never get up and move on from. And once she saw her opportunity, she did it. But I think it's because she's so intelligent. I think that she had such intellectual curiosity about everything. I mean, like, we kind of breeze over in a lot of these articles that I read that she's spoke 4 languages.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have a formal schooling. Like, she barely went to school.
Well, her first performance when she was in Paris on her own, and she went to that nightclub, and she didn't really know how she was supposed to perform or what she was even supposed to do. And so she sang in French.
Yeah.
And it ended up being amazing. So she just figured it out. She literally figured it out as she went along.
Yeah.
But she paid attention. Like, I know her daughter says in the book that we listened to, she didn't like idle chit chat. She didn't like to start the conversation. She was kind of an introvert, I guess. But she would sit and she would listen.
Yeah.
And then she would take that and she would go to a library or go wherever and look up what she heard during that conversation with some insanely famous people.
Yeah. Unlike you and I, like, one of the things that her daughter talks about is how she didn't like gossip. She was not interested in idle gossip, that is not me and Becky. We will go on and gossip with you about, especially if it's gossip that doesn't involve us.
That's the best kind of gossip.
We love
drinking the tea.
Mm-hmm. But there was a quote, one of her famous quotes was that life was her school and her graduation would be her tombstone.
Yes.
Her diploma would be her tombstone.
Yeah.
And I love that so much because you know how much I talk all the time, and we talk all the time about our famous people, or our favorite people are people who are lifelong learners. And that is in this day and age, I think you can really see a difference because there's been so much social change in the United States, kind of like back then, that I think that part of this crackdown that you're seeing on civil liberties is because so many people are uncomfortable with change. And there's just 2 kinds of people in the world. There are people that are terrified of anything different or new, and then there are people like Eartha who take it as an opportunity to just dig in. They don't expect the world to always be rosy and lovely and beautiful. They just deal with it as it comes.
Well, like that story of her and her daughter when they're in Paris, and her daughter is dying for her to go to this amusement park, and she gets kicked out of the amusement park because it
was South Africa.
South Africa. Yeah, you're right.
No, okay.
Yeah, because she's black, and so I think it was the next day or later on, she was having a photo shoot at the hotel across the street, and she took that opportunity instead of wallowing about it or making a scene like her daughter wanted her to do that day. She turned it into an opportunity and ended up making a comment about how that amusement park wouldn't let her enjoy the day with her daughter.
In like a big interview.
Yeah, with the amusement park in the photo behind her.
It was so melodramatic. I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it. She knew drama.
And she raised money for people,
building black schools.
Thank you.
Because it was during apartheid.
And she got a bunch of different ethnicities of children to be able to go to that amusement park. She did, and I just loved it. I think her daughter said she's like something, what was her quote on God? Here, but he's always on time.
Oh yeah, God may not be there when you want him, but he always comes on time.
Yeah, something like that. That made me think of that. She just never, like you said, she did not let any opportunity keep her down. She would find a way to make something of it, and that's a prime example.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is something that we talk about a lot, and this is one of the reasons that I say that, like, I don't know if it's just me, and because I'm loving this project so much, but it's every woman that we've talked about so far. Last week it was Zora Neale Hurston, and gosh, man, I could have spent hours just thinking about how much these 2 have in common and don't have in common. I think they would have been frenemies. Like, I think her and Zora were both too big of a personality they had so much in common, but they were both such big personalities. I don't know that they would have been close. But she just, the same way that Zora went through so much crap and she didn't expect the world to ever hand her anything. She was never expecting a handout from anything, and she didn't let herself get hurt or give up or go into a depression when things didn't go her way. And one of Eartha's famous quotes was, "I never felt that fear is my enemy. Fear is my friend. It offers me a chance to stay alert, keep growing, continue creating something new. If you don't take that sort of risk, you learn nothing." Man, like, if that wasn't an entire paragraph, I'd get that tattooed on me. Like, it reminds me of, it's funny, like, I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and after I say this, I think I'd like to talk a little bit about their relationship, her and her daughter, but one of my famous quotes to my kids has always been, you can do anything you want. You just can't do everything you want. Meaning, you have all the gifts and talents to go wherever you want in life, but hard work and preparation and not giving up is going to be the key. And you can't do everything. You succeed where your passion is, where your effort is. And that is what that reminded me of, is that kind of relationship. But again, like, I want to talk a little bit about her relationship with her daughter. Like, Eartha had nothing and no one. And she married in the late 60s for the first time. She was nearing 40. This guy that was, I think he ended up being her manager for a little while. Did not last. Was already a volatile relationship when she ended up getting pregnant with her only child, who was Kitt. She named her Kitt after herself
to keep her name going.
Yeah,
I loved that.
I love that too. Which my daughter, is giving me a hard time because she's been wanting me to care about the Gilmore Girls forever, because she says that they remind her of me and her.
She's not wrong. But
I hate Lorelai. And I just hate Lorelai. And Ava pointed out, oh, you judge Lorelai for naming her daughter a junior, but I admire it in other women. But it's not really about that. I just don't like Lorelai. But Eartha, if anybody had a right to want to pass her name on to the next generation, it's her, because that was her only family in the world. Like, she seems to have really, when she left the South, she left.
Yeah.
Like, she does not seem to have kept a relationship once she got out of her aunt's house with anybody in that family. Kitt, her daughter, was all she had in the world, and she adored her, and she
loved her. She took
her everywhere. You know, she made sure that she got the broadest education in the world. They were so close. I just love that. I mean, you told me it kind of reminded you of you and your mom.
Yeah, I mean, I was my mother's daughter, and she took me everywhere. We did everything together. I learned so much from that woman, and it just listening to Kitt talk about her mom and the way her mom treated her and how she was a good kid and the way they loved each other, it made me feel warm and fuzzy. It wasn't, I don't want to go on and say that I think it was the healthiest relationship. I think it was a little codependent and too much for a young child. But I think her daughter, she really, I hope that I can be that for my mom, who, especially today, who has spent her entire life focusing on everyone else and taking care of everyone else, that she can look at me and see love and joy and happiness, and that she did something great and she created something, or made me into something great. And I see that happening, with you and Ava. It was just such a beautiful relationship for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's perfect, and I want to be kind of careful about the way that I phrase this. One of the things that what resonated with me about Eartha is the same thing that you could probably relate to, because you joked at the beginning that you were born a bastard child, or born in sin. We were both born out of wedlock, both of us. And my mother, I want to be very clear, my mother was always involved in my life. She did not just give me away the way that Eartha's mother did. My mother was always there. She was always a parental figure. I always knew who my mom was. But I was raised predominantly by my aunt, who loved me dearly. I know that she did, but there were challenges and struggles, and one of the things that I really identified with her was this feeling of abandonment that she had throughout her life. I mean, she says, if your mother gives you away, you think everybody who comes into your life is going to give you away.
Yeah, it leaves an impact, and that's if it's okay if I can tell just a quick little story about, like you were saying, you were raised by your aunt, and I'm adopted, and I had the exact opposite experience with learning that. And that's, my parents both, I was adopted, and it wasn't actually until the last 5-6 years that I learned who my birth mother was and actually felt anger towards the whole situation, because my parents took me to a place, had me pick out this doll, name her, take an oath to care for her, and then brought me home and told me that's what they did with me. So that was the one thing I didn't suffer from a lot growing up, was the feeling of abandonment. So that part was it was different for me.
But one of the things that I definitely want to talk about, and I want to give you the platform here, is that I think that a component of this that, of course, I can't relate to, but you absolutely can, is the biracial prejudice.
Yes.
In addition to being given way, she also did not fit in with any community, especially the black community which surrounded her. I mean, for the most part, she lived in a very segregated society, so the people that she was around were predominantly people who were much darker than her, and they were awful to her, and it led to lifelong struggle with her racial identity.
Well, one of my favorite quotes from Eartha is, discrimination is on both sides. And as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a very small town in East Tennessee, beautiful place, not a great place to grow up as a biracial kid. It was a predominantly white town, and we grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I am lighter skinned than a lot of African Americans, and so, there were, Eartha talked about in her story where she wanted to move to Beverly Hills with her daughter, and she phrased it nicely, that some of the neighborhoods weren't ready for her yet. Well, when we tried to move to certain neighborhoods, when we moved to East Tennessee, there were petitions signed by neighborhoods because families did not want this biracial family to be living there. And I grew up, with friends, but I couldn't. There were sleepovers I did not get invited to because they did not want this black kid in their house. It was rough, and I didn't fit in there. But the ironic or really sad thing is that we weren't rich by any stretch of the means, but both my parents had great jobs, and we had we lived a good life. We were very blessed. So that set us apart from a lot of the black people in town because it was a lot of low income areas. I remember sitting at the lunch table in high school, and I was sitting there with my friends, and a couple of the black kids came over and sat down and started making fun of my hair and telling me they could teach me how to properly do my hair. And that I still to this day struggle with not leaving the house without my hair straight because it was always made to be such a thing. It was either fascinating to the white kids that I had this hair, or the black kids I didn't, you know what I mean?
They were giving you shit like you're not black enough.
Yeah, and
you don't even know how to take care of black hair.
Right. Or you don't sound black. It was
God, I can't even imagine how many times you've heard that in your life.
Oh my gosh, if I had $1, I would be so super rich by now. And even it was tough. It was very tough, and because I didn't know where to fit in, and I did have an identity problem. And I'm going to be honest with you and your listeners, it wasn't until 2016 when Trump got elected that I really started to find pride in the black side of me, because my entire life I had been made as a wrong. My therapist always, people don't make you feel a certain way, you allow it, but whatever. I was made to feel that was it.
Let's put some of the blame on the people that, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were abused, you were bullied.
Yeah, and so I didn't know because people don't look at me and see a white person. Technically speaking, if you go by the rules of the world, you check what your biological mother's race is, so I should be checking white boxes, but that never felt right to me. Because you look at me and you see a black woman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then even, right before Trump got elected, I was with someone who I thought was a very good friend of mine, and we were walking and had a conversation, and she made a comment about Colin Kaepernick and all that, which led to her basically showing me her true self and how she really felt about African Americans. And she's telling the story about these women in Target who were like tapping their feet and basically acting black ghetto, that's the word she used, behind her while she was putting her stuff on, like she wasn't moving fast enough. And I looked at her and I was like, I won't say her name, but it's like, those people could have just as easily been white. And she's like, no, but it's different. They were ghetto. And I was like, I looked at her and I said, you do understand I'm black, right? And she said, and I quote, yeah, but you don't act like that. Which is what made me realize for a long time, people say they don't see your color. That's not true. We all see color.
We should see color.
Yes, it's there. There's nothing wrong with the fact that my shade is different than yours.
Right.
But it made me realize that for a long time, I have been the acceptable, not the token, but the acceptable black girl. And
some people would say token, but that's disgusting and objectifying. And white people say that because they are comfortable with. They like to, not all white people, but some people like to tell themselves they are not racist because they will say, I have a black friend.
Yes, I've heard that my whole life.
Yes. And they feel more comfortable around you because you, I've got a few other friends who were either biracial or completely black, but they were raised in the suburbs before the last 15, 20 years. When we were kids, there was far fewer black families in the suburb. And so they would go around their family, and I don't think it's just a biracial thing. I think it's, when Eartha was a kid, completely different because black families and white families did not live in the same neighborhood. But when we were growing up, like some of my friends that were not biracial, they were black, and they did not realize how racist the vast majority of the families their friends were growing up in, because they were not, and I'm using like air quotes here, they were not, they were good black people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you know now, like, the saying that a lot of those racist people, including some people in my family, would use, that there's N-words and then there's good black people.
Yeah.
And that's how they thought. But the difference is that the black people that they were around, my friends that I was growing up with, they would give them shit to their face. So that made them feel uncomfortable around people of their own race because they didn't feel like they fit in there because they didn't talk a certain way, they didn't dress a certain way, they might be having different experiences, so they seemed to have more in common with the white people that they were hanging out with, but they didn't understand that behind their backs and in the families that they were growing up in.
They were saying, it was really, I still struggle, and still struggle with it, but I'm learning, and which is sad at 48 years old that you still learn, but like Eartha said, I'm learning all the time. My tombstone will be my diploma. Like that is the truth. But I really related to her when I was hearing her daughter tell the stories and then listening to some of the interviews that Eartha had done throughout her career. I wanted to just crawl through the computer screen and hug her because it was like, I get you. I get it. And discrimination does come from all sides. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I really wanted to dive into her story.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share mine.
I hope you felt a lot of kinship with her, and I hope you felt a lot of strength and vision. I hope you felt seen talking about reading her, because I know that it's not as big of a community, or at least it's not as cohesive as a community as people who are raised in predominantly black neighborhoods and go to HBCUs and things like that. I think I mentioned in my last podcast that one of my other biracial friends had very similar experiences to what you did, and she has a lot of bitterness did have a lot of bitterness towards the black community. I think she's still working it out a little bit more than you. You seem to have a bigger perspective on it, like Eartha did. Because one of the things I love about her is that Eartha did not have a bigotry towards black people. I think that she did refuse to identify as black, but she was in no way, shape, or form. It wasn't because she was ashamed of black people or ashamed of the fact that that was her lineage. It was that she saw that all people were capable of being wonderful human beings.
She
as
was
individuals.
Everyone.
Yes.
Human
beings as individuals were capable of being wonderful and remarkable, and human beings in big groups of no matter what ethnicity are capable of some heinous shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so she thought that that was part, and I agree with her, that is part of what is holding us back as a society. Now, there are very good reasons for people. I want people to be proud of their culture, especially black people, after everything that's happened to them in the history of this world. But I also understand why, when you are maligned and mistreated by a certain group of people, if you are somebody like Eartha, who then gets out and you see more of the world and you realize that there is so much more to the world than this racial hell that we've created in this country, it gives you the ability to understand that humans are fallible, but they're also all equally precious as individuals. And so she wanted the best for humankind. And she didn't, I guess what I'm saying is that, she got in big trouble for speaking up for the black community, almost ruined her career when she stood up for, and she did a lot of volunteer work. She started her own dance company that still exists, and I will put in the show notes when we publish this, a link to her theater community that still exists in, I think it was in Watts in South Central LA. She was not denying her black heritage. She just wanted to be an example. Like, she talks about her daughter, Kitt. One of the things that we haven't discussed yet is that Kitt is white, like white presenting. She looks like she has the most beautiful hint of a tan.
Right.
And she's
olive complexion. She's blonde haired.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked when I Googled her. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, it's speaking of that, I want to read her quote real quick, and then I want to go back to talking about that. She says, I've always been multicultural myself. I'm not black. I'm not white. I'm not pink. I'm not green. Eartha Kitt has no color. And that is how barriers are broken.
Yes. Yeah. And she's not wrong. And it's not, she wasn't saying that from the point of view of what I know people used to refer to as race traders. Back in the 50s and 60s, you were either a race man or woman or a race trader. And she just denied that label. She just refused, like she did with so many other quote-unquote realities. She just refused to bend to that. She was not prejudiced against black people, but she also was not going to deny her multicultural heritage and act as if she was having the exact same experience as the average black person in this country at any time. And so one of the things that her daughter Kitt talks about is how her mom called her a mutt, and she just loved that she was, to her mind, her mother's mind, she was a representative of all cultures. And she loved that people would look at her and get very confused by who she was. Now that ended up being a painful thing for Kitt later on. She said that, when her mother was alive, she didn't really worry much with it. She was kind of protected from it. It didn't really become a big thing until social media. And that was about the time her mom passed, and Kitt's doing a lot of work to protect her mom's legacy and to continue it. And she gets these messages from people. One of them, this person literally told her, your mother lied to you your whole life.
Yeah. You
need to acknowledge that you are white and that your mother adopted this white baby. Never mind the fact that she has her mother's whole ass face. Like, she is white, blonde haired, but if you look at Eartha Kitt was so beautiful. And she was so distinctively beautiful. Like, her features were so, like, that jawline. And her daughter looks like her mom. She's just a whiter version. She's a lighter version of her mom. But yeah, people just feeling perfectly free to tell her that she is not her mother's daughter, that she was clearly adopted. And she actually, she was talking, I saw an interview with her that same week that some white person was telling her that. She got something from a black person telling her to quit claiming that she's black.
Yeah, it's, in my brothers, both my brothers are, let me just clarify and explain really quick. My biological mother is white, my biological father is black, and I carry more physical African-American physical traits than my brothers did. Because my adopted dad is white and my mom is black, and that's the dominant gene, so they both came out lighter skinned than me. And their children are white skinned. They are white presenting, but they are biracial children.
Right.
But they haven't had to deal with a lot of the the stuff that can come with being black presenting. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, you are. I get what you're saying, but it's kind of like with Eartha's family, like the part that I don't think it's kind of like during the election when people were talking about Kamala and claiming that she wasn't really black, you know, that sometimes she would change the way she spoke in certain. It's like they never heard of multiracial people in this world.
Yeah.
Like, you know, are you new here? Is this your first day on the planet? And if you look at the genetics, like it's like with your brother's kids, like they are only about a quarter African American, and it's the same with Kit. She's only about a quarter African American, so of course she's going to have predominantly European features. That's just normal. Yeah, that's just how genetics works, you know.
But it doesn't lessen
who you are. It
yeah,
doesn't mean
any
that
of that.
Right. It doesn't take away. And honestly, you know, I know that's, again, one of the things that I loved about her is that we're in a real weird-ass time right now, and I kind of wonder, like, how she would feel about it. I don't think she would inherently be different or feel differently about her racial ethnicity because she had to grow up during Jim Crow and then the Civil Rights era. She'd probably tell us to suck it up and pull our big girl pants up.
She would.
And just, things have been shitty before, and we changed it, and you just got to keep on moving and get it back, move that needle back the other way with hard work. But I do kind of wonder, like, what she would think about, like, the Black Lives Matters protests and the, you know, killing of several black people by police officers over the last few years, things like that. I wonder if she would have become more vocal about that, or if she would have felt like it was just because she wasn't a big get out in the streets and protest person.
I think she would have, because when you go and you look at her activism, she was not, you know, she was an activist for all people, and she was very heavy into the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And something she said that really stood out. She said, "We're all rejected people. We know what it is to be refused. We know what it is to be oppressed, depressed, and then accused. And I'm very much cognizant of that feeling. Nothing in the world is more painful than rejection. I am a rejected, oppressed person, and so I understand them as best as I can, even though I'm a heterosexual." So I do think she would have stood up for the Breonna Taylors and the Colin Kaepernicks and every other person dealing with
it's been marginalized.
These things. Yes.
Yeah.
Because she got it. She got it, even if she wasn't, it didn't happen to her.
Yes. That, I think, is the key.
That is.
And I think that that's kind of what I was saying earlier about, like, she didn't have to, it didn't have to be her problem. She didn't ever push that she would, or deny that she was a multiracial person. She celebrated that, and she wanted more people to stop identifying themselves as just, she didn't want to deny anybody's blackness. I don't want it to sound like that. But she just felt like the world would be a better place if we all saw ourselves as individuals and saw ourselves in other people, and just had a huge compassion. So just because she wasn't out, you know, marching in the streets or doing things like that, just like with the story about when she integrated that music park in South Africa, she always had the long game in her head.
And she was patient.
Yeah.
So patient.
God, I'm so glad. If for some reason Kit ever listens to this, you had an amazing mother, but I'm also real glad that I did, because I bet that she could scare the bejesus out of you.
She mentioned once that she said something, she said it in her mother voice, and I'm like, I feel like everything that woman would say to you would be in a mother voice.
Right.
I'd be like scared the whole time, but then again, you know, we saw the Eartha Kitt persona.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. I wonder what it was like to see Eartha Mae.
Yeah. Because she talks a lot about how Eartha Mae and Eartha Kitt were two different people.
Very.
And I think this is a good time to get to that, you know, Eartha was not this sex kitten persona that she sold to the world. I mean, she was very savvy. She quickly realized that, you know, because she made it through the world of dance, and she knew how to move her body, and she was sexy. I mean, she just was. She was just a beautiful, talented, smart woman. Orson Welles called her the most exciting woman in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she I think believed that.
She was like, you're right, yeah.
She believed Eartha Kitt was the most exciting woman in the world, but she also believed that was a persona, and that Eartha Mae was a completely different person. Eartha May didn't want jewels. She didn't want fur coats.
She didn't trust gold.
She wasn't the chick from Santa Baby. She said, give me land. If you want to be in my life, give me land, because she loved the earth.
And that's another thing that I really loved and related to her. You know, her daughter was talking about how she was talking about religion and how Eartha was like, I don't need to go to church. Church is right outside. And I do go to church. Mm-hmm. But there are some days when, you know, it's springtime. I'm about to jump into yard work, weeding and planting, and I'm excited. It's hard work, and I'll be tired at the end of the day, mm-hmm. but I'm excited about it because there is something, you know, a church, a man built that church. Mm-hmm. God built this earth. Yeah. So there is something spiritual to mm-hmm. sit outside and be in the dirt. And that's another thing that I really respected about Eartha. She was much healthier and ate better and whatnot than I did.
No, but for sure than both of us do.
But I do love her love of the dirt and the life that comes from it. So I'm sorry, you brought that up and it made me think of that.
No, I agree, and it's honestly inspired me a little bit. That's probably why I went back to the gym yesterday. Look, I'm going to tell you guys, if you do go down the Eartha Kitt rabbit hole, be prepared to feel bad about yourself, because that woman, 3 months before she died, there's an article that was one of our primary sources, and I'll list it later, but she did an interview with Gwen Ifill, the wonderful, awesome Gwen Ifill, who used to work for PBS. And anyway, 3 months before this woman died a horrible, painful death from colon cancer, she didn't just look. She was in way better shape than I was. She was up there dancing and moving the legs.
She performed.
Yeah.
Gave a performance.
A beautiful performance. And, like, you know, just the strength and everything that she had. She didn't deny herself anything, but she was very disciplined mm-hmm. about her exercise and what she ate and how she moved and all of that stuff. But anyway, I just loved that dichotomy between the inner her that she kept from the public. As much as she adored the public, that's probably part of why her daughter turned out really well, is that she absolutely knew that it was a persona, and she set that aside at the door of her home. Mm-hmm. And on the inside, she only did and had things that were nurturing to her soul.
Yeah.
And I love that. That was one of the many, many things that I thought was very inspiring about her. Before we go and we pause for a bit to go have what is going to be a really interesting dinner here, I just want to ask, what do you think about Eartha's father? Like, do you think that she, by the end, kind of knew? Because that's the part, I really struggled with that. Like, small towns, they're so gossipy. Like, it almost felt like Eartha knew, but didn't want to say. But, like, she knew who everybody, because I just don't believe that everybody didn't know who it was.
I think she had a strong suspicion that this was a strong possibility, that this is who this is. But I think when she went to that courthouse to see it for herself, things were black and white for her. They were she needed to see that name to have that confidence and to seal that part of her existence. And that this is, yes, to answer your question, yes, I think she strongly knew, but I think she was still searching for that confirmation.
Yeah, so she went to speak at an historically black college very near her hometown, because she did not go back to the South very much at all once she got away. But she was asked to speak at this college, and she wanted to do a fundraiser for the little town that she came from. And so when she was 71, she went back and did it, and she just kind of jokingly, but not jokingly, threw out to the college students, which I guess it must have been a lot harder to get a birth certificate in South Carolina back then. That was part of the mystery to me, because I remember when I was in 1991, 92, me and my girlfriend Amy got copies of her birth certificate. That's when I found out how my name was spelled, so that we could get into a bar that was bands were playing at. So we faked our birth certificates on a word processor to show that we were 18. I'm certain it fooled no one, but they still let us in.
Right.
Probably just E for effort.
Like, yeah, you
don't drink, you can come in. But when she went, they did get, apparently it was this big hullabaloo to get a copy of her birth certificate. They would only let her see it in presence of a judge.
Yeah, it was very
strange.
Serious.
Yeah, and then the father's name had been blacked out.
Which
and
apparently was common.
Well, yes, probably. But the whole, they wouldn't even let her take her birth certificate.
Yeah, it's weird.
She had to be the president of a judge, right. Like, I could understand why. Maybe it was because it was the original and she wanted to see the actual one on file. And that maybe that's why. Because, we just go and get copies of our birth certificate. Yeah. So maybe it was because she wanted to see the actual handwritten birth certificate. And I think it just broke her when she saw that the father's name had been blacked out. And that after all these years, I think that the unspoken subtext there was that she was hoping that these people who very likely knew who he was would be dazzled by her, and just because she was so persistent and she charmed almost everyone on the planet.
Yeah.
And I think it really broke her to go back to the South and run up against these people who probably knew her father's legitimate family and were still protecting him all these years later.
Yeah.
I think that's what that was all about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just heartbreaking. So we are going to pause now and going to go finish up the last few parts of our dinner that, frankly, oh man, this is going to be interesting. And I hope that all of you are still speaking to me after you hear what we're going to eat. But honestly, you're just going to need to blame Eartha for that.
She's why we're doing this.
Yeah, it's the only recipe of hers that I could find anywhere online. I even reached out to Kit. Kit's, by the way, on TikTok. She's on Facebook. She's got a business selling Eartha-inspired jewelry. So I did email her to see if she had any other recipes that her mother may have enjoyed, and I didn't hear back. So, here we are. We'll be back with you in just a few. Y'all, we're back, and we are getting ready to dig into Eartha's famous crocked rabbit recipe. Yes, rabbit. On Easter, of all weekends, we're about to eat Peter Cottontail. And, for some of you guys, that may be, what's the big deal? I like to eat novel proteins all the time. I have a firm, I don't like to eat any of Bambi's friends rules. So we really tried to find any other recipe that might have been related to Eartha. But this is the only recipe that she ever published in full. I found a recipe for the way that she liked to saute greens, but as far as like entrees go, this was literally the only one that I could find. Even though, as we're about to get into, she had some very strong opinions about food, much like everything else in her life. But
very healthy.
Yeah, very healthy. So, the rabbit. We spent the greater part of yesterday, once we finally acknowledged to ourselves that in the interest of the podcast...
Authenticity.
Yes, in the spirit of authenticity, we should stick with the recipe that we know for sure that she prepared and enjoyed. So here we are, about to lose all possibility of ever getting another Easter basket from the Easter Bunny again in our life, because we're going to dig into one of his babies. And I'm not sure if I'm more horrified at the idea that I might like it or it might be really gross.
Yeah.
But here we go. Cheers, Becky.
Cheers.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All right. Here we go. Tearing off a chunk.
God, trying to get a piece that's not bony.
Oh my God.
Guys.
It's good.
It's good. Rabbit is good.
Rabbit is really good. Now, we used Eartha's marinade, which was a mustard, vermouth. We made a vermouth substitute, but it marinated overnight, and I don't hate it.
I do not hate it.
I don't think I would eat this on a regular basis. But
well,
man,
I don't know that my conscience would allow me to eat. I also don't know that I want to go. So we finally did find the rabbit. It took a while. We had to call around because weirdly, most grocery stores don't carry rabbit.
Oh, I don't like the parsnips.
You don't?
Oh no.
Yeah, they're cooked in parsnips, guys. I'm going to put the recipe in the show notes that you can link to. It's cooked with carrots and parsnips and cabbage. And Becky has just discovered that she's not a big fan of the parsnips.
Nope.
But at any rate, trying to find this rabbit. I called around every butcher shop in Nashville yesterday. That's where we're from. And was really running up against a bunch of walls. Everybody was like, no, we don't sell rabbit at our butcher shop. Which I didn't think they had to be so sniffy about it, but whatever. Finally found one, this high-end butcher shop. They did have a rabbit. It was going to be $80 for a 3-pound rabbit. $80. So that was out the window. Definitely couldn't do that. I love Eartha, and I don't think, as frugal as she was, that she would have been really happy with me if I'd spent $80 for a 3-pound frozen rabbit.
Not one bit.
Yeah, so we thought we were going to have to give up on the idea, but Becky told me, let's just try a couple more times. Found a butcher shop. They didn't have it, but they told us, oh yeah, it's at the Piggly Wiggly on Dickerson Pike. Now, if you live in Nashville, you would know that Dickerson Pike is not necessarily the nicest area of town. It's one of the poorest areas of town. So, Becky got her husband, Aaron, he worked near there, to go and pick us up this bunny yesterday, and he said that they have tons of different novel proteins there, different kinds of exotic foods that you wouldn't find in others. So we're still we're gonna have to dive into the mystery on why this one Piggly Wiggly, considering the fact that there's only 3 Piggly Wigglies left in all of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And this one Piggly Wiggly carries rabbit, but we got him, and now I know myself to be a bunny lover. I don't know what to do.
I'm not gonna say I'm a lover.
It's not bad,
but I dig it. I mean, it's like Darren, my husband, has had this before, and he was just saying it's like dark meat chicken. Mm-hmm. And it is a lot like dark meat chicken.
Yeah, I think we followed a recipe, and I don't even think we cooked it as long as it said.
No,
it's a little dry. Next time, oh God.
You just said
listen
next
to me
time.
next time. I already said next time. I'm sorry, Peter Cottontail.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Thumper.
You're getting coal for Christmas now, too.
This is what happens, when you become a zombie. At first, you feel really guilty, and then you just have an insatiable taste for forbidden meat. That sounded really dirty.
How good it did, but we do love forbidden meat.
So, as Becky mentioned, I'm leaving that in, by the way.
No, that's fine with me.
As Becky mentioned, Eartha was very, very healthy. She had very strong opinions about people, and this was way before this was a popular thing. This is just how ahead of her time she was. She did not believe in processed anything. She was not a fan of any kind of processed foods. Didn't eat a lot of sweets in general. We are actually going to have a dessert here in a little bit, probably after we stop podcasting, that we couldn't find a dessert recipe for her, but she did love everything that grew in the ground or came up from nature. So we got a berry trifle that Becky put together because she believed in all high-fat everything. She didn't believe in low-fat stuff. She didn't believe in anything that was made with fake sugars or margarine or anything like that. She just believed that you should eat natural foods, but eat in moderation. She ate very, very small portions, which, God love her. I one day hope to acquire that kind of discipline.
Same.
Yeah. At any rate, she so was opposed to anything processed or any kind of sweets, things like that, that one of the things that Kit said, that her daughter said, that they did butt heads about, was that her mother could have made her a cake from her own ingredients that she brought from home or whatever, but she wouldn't even let her have birthday cakes. And now Kit, much like me, will sit and eat a whole bag of Oreos at one time. Unfortunately, I don't have Eartha Kitt's metabolism to keep me from...
No.
Yeah.
And Kit said she is blessed with it.
She is. She looks beautiful. Another thing she inherited from her mother is that she is now in her early 60s, I believe. She looks like she's at least 20 years younger.
She's beautiful.
Gorgeous woman. So anyway, we tried to Becky sauteed some mushrooms for us to have with our parsnips and carrots and cabbage and our bunny rabbit.
Oh, and the dessert.
It's really good.
It is really good.
Oh, yeah, the dessert. I'm sorry.
It's granola. It's a granola crust I used real butter because she, like Mandy said, she did not believe in any fake margarines or low fat or whatever. And then I took it's raspberries and blackberries, and I sprinkled them with a tiny bit of raw coconut sugar, which is really a good alternative to white processed sugar.
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah. And then we'll have the filling is basically full fat Greek yogurt mixed with a little bit of honey. So I'm very excited. I tried the crust and it was delicious.
It's going to be, Becky, these mushrooms, oh man, these are so good.
Thank you.
Oh, Bunny, I'm just going to take one little bite left. I promise that's the last part of you that I'm
about to eat the rest of her bunny.
It does have a lot of bones in it.
It is bony, yeah. The way it came, y'all, it was two, I'm guessing the thighs, and the rest were just little pieces. So it was.
Well, thank God you didn't have to butcher
cut it up.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
That thing would have gone into that pot hole because it was enough. When we got it, it was frozen, so I had to thaw it out. And I told Mandy last night, I can feel this thing judging me from the sink. But when you make it, you have to rinse it and then pat it dry before you put your marinade on it. And that was not a good
Becky's
feeling.
patting and crying.
Right. I'm sorry.
No. One of the things that Becky and I were talking about earlier is that insane video on YouTube, which again I will link to, of her preparing this dish with some clearly drunk British entertainer.
Oh my gosh.
Handsy British entertainer. But she talks about, part of why she knows how to prepare rabbit is back in her Eartha May days, literally this child was foraging in the forest for whatever she could find to eat. And so, and a lot of people back then, and still in certain parts of this country, rabbit is just part of one of the things that's on the menu sometime. I have to confess, this is not the first time I've had rabbit. I barely remember.
Really?
Yes, I barely remember it because it was traumatic for me.
Oh.
As I told you, my uncle that raised me, if you ever sat down and started eating something and he looked at you and said, "Is that good?" You know that you just put one of Bambi's friends in your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I ate deer. That's how I ate squirrel. I had hog brains, which hog brains are delicious. I'm not going to tell you. Put them in eggs.
That, I'll tell you, I will not try.
Well, and then rabbit. I never ate any of those again because I do feel so much guilt. I don't know why. It's so hypocritical.
It is. It's all the same.
I just
really.
don't eat the cute ones.
But there are cute little bunnies that hop around my yard.
Yeah.
And I love them and I feed them. And
Yeah.
I don't want to think about eating them. So it's something weird about deer and stuff like that just, it's a stigma or something that I feel weird about eating it. But I respect her. She said that those were in abundance. There were rabbits all over the place, and so she would do what she had to do to eat. So I respect her choice, and I think she, over the years, I'm sure as she grew her own things and learned to cook more, it probably was a comfort food for her.
Yeah.
So she learned how to fine tune and perfect the recipe, and it is a really, really good recipe.
It is good, and unfortunately, I now know myself better than I did when I came in, and it's not in a good way.
Well, usually when you hang out with me, one or both of us leave worse than we came in. So that's something
We're always
unusual.
facing some horrible truth about ourselves.
Yeah, it's just a part for the course.
I would have loved to have seen her garden. She was very proud of her gardens. Everywhere she went, she made sure that there was space that she could grow her own food. Growing her own food, even if it was an apartment. When she was
if you have a pot, you have land.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of my mom. Like, my mom loves to grow things.
Same.
That's kind of remind me of your mom too. Just like she got like that joy that you were talking about, that that energy that you get from growing things. Like, even if it wasn't just about supplying herself with food, although she did, it wasn't just for show. Like, there was a story that she was talking.
Yes. When her child turned orange.
Yes. Do you know that happened to me? So once Kit would go out and she would go and grab carrots out of the garden, and when she was like 8 years old, her teeth started turning orange, and they took her to the doctor, and it turned out that she had keratin poisoning, which is a thing that can happen if you eat too many carrots. That happened to me when I was a baby. I can't wait to tell my mom about that experience with Kit, because I was the only person I've ever heard of. When I was a baby, I really liked orange or baby food carrots. And yeah, same thing. I started turning orange like an Oompa Loompa.
A friend of mine, his niece, when she was a baby, same thing. He sent me a picture of her, and her nose was orange, and they had to stop giving her so many carrots. That is one thing. Maybe that's why I'm brown, is because I just like chocolate so much.
Well, you don't really love carrots.
I don't. I love raw. I like raw carrots, but something about cooked carrots.
If eating chocolate turns you brown, I would be the darkest woman on this planet. Believe me, I've tried. It's not working. But yeah, so she loved to grow things, and she loved to have her own food. No, the story, though, that I was really thinking about was the one where she was talking about she was eating with somebody famous, and she was taking the leftovers.
Oh my gosh, she brought Tupperware out to eat. And they're in like first class,
like the nicest place in
Michelin
Paris.
star restaurants, and she brought Tupperware. And whatever these people, famous people, imagine sitting there with a James Dean, or for the younger generation that might be listening, a Hayden Christensen, I don't know.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, that guy. And he finishes his meal, but he doesn't eat it all, and you pick it up, and your mom picks it up and puts it in a Tupperware to take for later. But that's her mentality. Is she spent, I imagine, growing up hungry and not knowing when your next meal is going to be, that would be important for you to know where your next meal is going to come from. So I get her mentality on it, but I imagine her child kid sitting there with her like, oh my God, what are you doing?
She said that if I'm at dinner with the Queen of England and she doesn't finish her food, I'm going to ask her if I can take that dinner roll.
Like, I'm going to do you mind if I? And she would too. That's what I love about her, because I named part of our slogan of the What's On Tonight podcast is quirky, is because I have been told my whole life that I am a quirky individual.
Same.
And Eartha was quirky.
She was a nerd. She was a nerd.
But she was eccentric.
Right, that's what I mean. She was a nerd is the highest compliment.
Yeah.
She was not trying to impress anyone or anybody. It didn't matter how famous.
Mandy's rabbit.
You could be she liked interesting people. It did not matter to her whether you were the guy that was parking her car at a hotel or you were the king of, Morocco. She was going to treat you exactly the same way. If you were interesting, she liked you. If you were not, she just avoided you.
She just didn't talk to you.
She just would not speak to you. And it didn't, she wasn't impressed with money or any kind of trappings of fame. She just really liked interesting people.
I'm eating Mandy's,
which I identify with.
I'm Eartha Kitt and Mandy right now. I'm eating the rest of her rabbit.
Yeah, I left my rabbit alone because I'm afraid, big old clumsy me, I'm going to end up choking to death on one of those bones, and that's not how we want to.
I will let you. Am I in your will?
No, remember, you're my.
Oh, that's right. I'm your assistant. Who was I had to read that like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I don't remember adding that. My emergency contacts, Becky's listed as my assistant. So they'll call her first.
You know me. I'm honored to be an emergency contact. Just
and then you notice that you're my emergency contact because you are my assistant. Yeah.
She put it in there. She's like, if somebody calls and asks if you're my assistant, something
really bad
something really bad's gone down.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. Well, guys, we are going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Dinner for Her. I have had a fantastic time sitting here with my bestie, ruining my palate for the rest of my life by finding out that I, in fact, do enjoy eating Thumper, Bambi's friend. Our sources for this podcast were Eartha Kitt, biography, songs, Catwoman, and facts by Encyclopedia Britannica. Eartha and Kitt, A Daughter's Love Story in Black and White by Kit McDonald, Shapiro, and Patricia Leavy, Simon & Schuster, 2021. And An Evening with Eartha Kitt. This is a series that you can find on YouTube, and again, I will link it. That was a project called The History Makers, that are people that are trying to acknowledge the contributions of Black performers. And it's a really very cool series that I'm glad I found. And I encourage you to go and watch all of these and all of the other amazing, funny, quirky interesting stories that you can find about her and interviews with her on YouTube. It's been fun. It's been fun living in Eartha Land for the last week or so.
Oh, so much.
Yeah. If you would like to get in touch with me, leave some feedback, or just say hi, you can email or send a voice message as an attachment to dinnerforher@gmail.com. You can visit my Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave feedback in the comment section or send me a message through Facebook Messenger. I can also be found on TikTok at Dinner for Her. A big thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for all of his hard work for us and this platform. Please visit Pirate Core website and their Facebook page where you can find this podcast and many more, including our other project, What's On Tonight? What's On Tonight is a spoiler-filled podcast about TV, movies, and more. Right now, we are wrapping up the first season of the HBO medical drama The Pit. Check us out and join the conversation.
Please do.
Lastly, I want to give all the thanks in the world to my Becky. You believed we could do this podcast thing, and you dragged me out of my hermit cave to make it happen, and thank God you did. What's On Tonight and this project have given me new creative life and a feeling of accomplishment I was sorely needing as we navigate this political climate, and I stare down empty nesthood. Our friendship is one of the things I treasure more than anything else in my life, and I just love you so much.
Oh, back at you. This has been, I am so proud of you. I'm so freaking proud of you for joining me and stepping out of your comfort zone on What's On Tonight, but that you had an idea and you took it and you ran with it, and it's great. I have enjoyed your first 2 episodes, and I'm sure with me on it, I'll enjoy this one even more.
Because how could it not be the greatest episode?
Right? So, but no, thank you for having me on, and just, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Last episode, episode 2, we ended on the words from the mouth of our special guest for that episode, Zora Neale Hurston. And if you haven't listened to that, please go check it out.
It's so good.
It really was. Zora is another amazing woman.
And Terry was great.
And my good friend Terry, also a very good guest. So I think I'd like to make it a tradition whenever possible. So let's give Eartha the final say here and share one of her many famous words of wisdom. My recipe for life is not being afraid of myself, afraid of what I think or of my opinions. Thanks, everyone, and please come back next time to see what incredible, powerful woman will be joining us for dinner. Kill the wabbit.
Kill the wabbit.